Compton city streets and street repairs, okay? So what we want to do now is move to the state, okay? And this is where you're going to hear from our first speaker. The state provides funding to local government by way of the California gas tax. And we understand for the city that the city gets $2.5 million annually to use for streets. Now, I'm going to be corrected if I'm wrong, and we'll hear in a second. But this is the information that we got. And with that said, what I'm going to do right now, because I don't have a slide to show it to you, I'm going to introduce Paul Marquez. Paul Marquez is a Deputy District 7 Director for Caltrans. And Paul, do I understand you're going to talk about that $2.5 million and the use of state funds? Like how the state gives the local government money for
yes, I think what excuse me.
Hey, young lady, can I get one of those?
Okay.
I'll stop lady, can
Okay, so before we go to Paul, I'm just reminded, as I looked at my notes really quickly. Here's what I tried to do before the town hall started. I tried to get a figure of how much the city spent in like 2013 and 2014 on streets, so that I could compare it to what they're spending now on streets, and I couldn't get the information. Okay? I couldn't get the information. So we will continue to see, and maybe the city manager, when he talks, can address this.
Okay, thank you.
But for me, folks, let me just tell you. For me, I was trying to compare to see
You okay?
the difference of what was spent in the years prior to what's being spent now, so we can actually see the measure of money, which we're going to get to in a second, and we can see the comparison of what your tax dollars are paid for. Okay, I was not able to get any numbers for what was being spent by the city on street repairs in 2013, 2014, 2015, other than the federal number that we have. Okay, so we started a little bit of the disadvantage of not having that comparison purposes. But let me also tell you, people want to hear, and if you don't want to hear, just bear with me. We have a lot to get through tonight, and I want to get to questions too. I didn't mention, but for community development block grants, I know I mentioned it briefly, and I wish I had a slide to kind of show you this, but Compton received they received $6.58 million, okay, between 12 and 16. They received $6.585 million. They spent 53% of that money on streets. But let me quickly tell you where the other money went to. 1.5% of that money went to senior services. 3.5% of that money went to youth services. 1.2% went to battered and abused spouse services. 2.3% went to health services. 5% went to parks and rec. And 18% went to general administration and planning. Okay? There's the breakdown. And I know I'm here to give you all information on where the city's spending the dollars, okay? And there will be a time for Q&A, and we can try to get to the bottom of what we can. I'm trying to provide some transparency on dollars and figures and give you some background on frankly, where the dollars are. I mean, because you need to understand the background to understand, where we're getting to with this conversation. Okay, so with that said, Paul, I'm going to have Paul, who's here to talk about state funding. You're up, Paul.
All right. Well, it's a pleasure being here. My name
again, thanks to Congressman Berrigan for having this opportunity to meet with the community out here in Compton. I did just want to really, my talk will be just pretty much generally on some of the funding that has been available to Compton and what they actually have some projects that we're currently administering or monitoring. And there's quite a bit of money available, but a lot of it isn't for potholes. But I will get to that point towards the end here. So bear with me for a minute here. Three areas I want to cover. One is the active transportation program, which is approximately statewide 440 million available per cycle. Cycles usually every 2 years. And with the passage of California state, the bill for the gas tax in 2017, that did about 200 million to that. So it totals about 440 million. The next couple of projects would be in this year, 2020. And this one actually goes
You being an artist? Can I sit my little camera up here?
Geared towards potholes is more encourages the increased use of active transportation and increase in safety and mobility for non-motorized users. That's cyclists and pedestrians, enhancing public health and ensuring disadvantaged communities like Compton get their share of the benefits from this program. The second suite of projects is the Highway Safety Improvement Program.
Paul, can I interrupt you, because I'm sure a lot of people want to know this, because I certainly do. Can this money be used for street pavement and repairs?
It cannot.
It cannot. So none of that $2.5 million?
No, this is not the 2.5 million. I was going to go later on to the local streets and roads program.
Okay, got it. All right, hang tight, folks. He's getting to that part. Okay, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Okay.
This is more grant monies that are available to the local agencies that go through Caltrans. The second program is the Highway Safety Improvement Program. We just call it the ESA program. And in December of 2018, 2021 projects were funded or totaling more than $182 million statewide. So the next couple of projects is, again, in 2020, where 200 million will be available. And this program is through Caltrans. The reason why I'm mentioning these two programs, there are actually projects within Compton that are currently going on. And then finally, I'll just mention it, but I don't really have the details because of the SB1 Local Streets and Roads program. Actually goes directly from the local agencies, the city and counties, to the California Transportation Commission, and once the list of projects is accepted, then it goes to the state controller to disperse and distribute the funds. So SB1 dedicated approximately $1.5 billion per year to all of the cities and counties within California for basic road maintenance, rehabilitation, and critical safety projects. Now, I don't have the details on that, and that would definitely have to go through.
Okay, so just for clarification purposes, you said 1.5 million went to cities?
No, 1.5 billion goes to all of the cities and counties within the state.
So do you have any idea how much of money went to Compton?
According to, about 2 million.
Okay, got it, okay. So, and again, this is where we brought the city manager, and we had somebody here from Public Works, because then if you have a follow-up question, if they want to clarify something, they will be able to do that, okay? Awesome.
So that covers that. If I can cover some of the projects, the grant projects, which are really bicycle, pedestrian, we want to.
Okay, so, hold on, I am not sure what the rumbling is about. Okay, I understand the PowerPoint slides I've already seen. And unfortunately, I don't think we have copies of them, do we?
I don't.
You don't. So you can contact my office and we'll get them to you. Now, there's more PowerPoint slides, and those are the handouts you have. I have control over our PowerPoint slides, and, you know, Paul is doing a great job, the best you can. And there'll be a Q&A period. So if there's something he said you want clarification on,
6 p.m., right?
we're gonna get it, okay? We will get
Not
it.
now.
Okay.
It's 6
So
p.m.,
there's just a
right?
few projects that I'll
Welcome
cover
to 6 p.m., right?
with regards to
Are
the
there
active
some here?
transportation program. Currently, there's one on Wilmington Avenue called the Safe Streets Pedestrian Bicycle Improvements Project, which is about a mile of Class 2 bicycle lanes that's striping along the roadway. And there's high visibility crosswalk markings, countdown pedestrian signal heads, pedestrian level lighting, widening sidewalks, and other things to make it safer for cyclists and pedestrians. It goes from Wilmington north-south from El Segundo to Rosecrans. And ATP funding is about $996,000 on that. It's in the construction phase. So that is completed.
Okay.
So that's one of the ATP projects, the Active Transportation Program projects. There's one that I have on the next slide, but it's still in the design phase. It's called the Compton-Carson Regional Safe Bicycling Wayfinding Project, and this actually covers almost 30 miles of gap closure for Class 1, which is separated bikeway, Class 2, which is striped bike lane on the roadway, and Class 3, where you share the road, the bicycle shares the road with the cars. It's along Wilmington, it's all over the city.
So Paul, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
What happens if you're trying to put a bicycle lane in and the rest of the street has potholes in it? What I really want to know is, are you just doing the bicycle lane and then the rest of the street's not getting done? Or
much of it is done simultaneously because they do go through the process.
folks,
The application.
we have to give every speaker the respect they deserve. Paul is here to give us an update, and there will be an opportunity for questions. I'm trying to ask questions when I hear something that I want to make sure we're all clear on. So there will be opportunity, and I just ask, we want to be able to get through the speakers and get to questions without running out of time tonight. So I just ask you to please have, I really appreciate that you all came tonight and that you're willing to provide transparency to residents and give them answers, because that's really, what we're here. So Paul, please go ahead.
Well, so what happens is the local agencies are the ones who apply for these grants, and then it goes through the vetting process statewide for one thing. And then once they're awarded through the California Transportation Commission, then there's another opportunity for those projects that don't actually get awarded, that they go through the Southern California Association of Governments here in the Southern California region to apply for that.
Okay. So the city got some funding for bicycle lanes, is that accurate? Yes,
Bicycle
okay.
lanes and other.
Okay. Is there anything else, Paul, you want to, before we wrap up in county?
Well, if we go back to the previous slide, there's a couple more projects that deal with the highway safety and recruitment program,
Okay.
which is
For purposes of the audience, can you tell us what, like, a particular highway that project covers?
Compton Boulevard.
Compton Boulevard?
Yes, has the beach.
And Wilmington?
Yes.
Okay, are these projects that are going to happen, or these are projects that have already happened?
So the Compton one border to border is under design. Wilmington phase 2. So an example of the bike lanes that were installed is the Wilmington phase 1, where you see from El Segundo down to Rosecrans. It's been completely repaved with new markings and street lights and all that. So that's what you see. So no, we don't We don't just put in the bike lanes and not take care of the streets. So when you see Wilmington Phase 2 going from Rosecrans south to the border, that will be a continuation of that.
Okay. Reed?
Okay.
You good?
So, yes. So we're back to the highway safety improvement program. We mentioned it on the slide.
So Paul, because we're running low on time and we want to get to questions, and we still have the city manager, if we're going to go ahead and just wrap your part, but I need you available for questions. And I also want to say, how many people here get on the 91 freeway and see the potholes get on? So let me tell you, that happens to me too. And this is an issue we've been working with Caltrans on. And I'm happy to report, folks, there's some good news to report. I'm happy to report that there's collaboration happening next week. There's going to be a meeting with Caltrans and city officials, not just in Compton, but in Carson, to stop the finger pointing on whose responsibility it is, to just say, hey, let's just get this done. It's a step in the right direction, and I want to thank you all. Paul, I want to thank you and the city manager for working together, collaborating together to just make sure the objective here is to improve the streets and the safety of streets. I cannot tell you that when you hear from first responders that the street conditions are impacting the response time, that is a huge public safety concern. From fire as well. And so, and then it costs money if the city has to replace, fire trucks and things like that. So with that said, we also have a representative from the county. Anybody here live in the unincorporated parts of Compton? Okay, there are some folks here. So the county's going to go next, and he's going to talk about an app to try to figure, if you don't know where you are, if you're in the city, if you're unincorporated, or if you see a pothole, it will tell you the jurisdiction of where to report it, okay? Or you can call our office, okay? So, and with that said, I'm going to introduce our next speaker, who's here on behalf of the county, and that is Dai Wee. Awesome. He's the district engineer at the LA County Public Works. And I also want to recognize Mark, the director of LA County Public Works. Where are you, Mark? Mark is right here. And so I got to tell you this really funny story. Mark came to my office in DC advocating for federal funding and telling us what they're working on. And the first thing I told Mark, I said, hey Mark, I've been trying to do this town hall since like January. Will you commit now to coming, bringing somebody to talk about the county part and making sure there's a system in place so we can work together to address it? And he immediately was like, absolutely yes. So I want to thank you, Mark, and I want to thank you for your presentation today. Let me say one more thing. I want to applaud the county. I don't know if I have it with me. The county has on their website a comprehensive street survey. A comprehensive street survey. You can actually look up your street and figure out in the county what the index number is. It tells you how bad it is. And folks, I have served on a local city council, both as a city council member and as a mayor. Right? I'm a firm believer that every city needs one of these, so they make an informed decision on where the streets are to go fix and repair. Now, I'm hoping that at some point the city manager will talk about whether Compton has one, because we haven't been able to get one from Compton. But that part's coming up, and I'm hoping that you will have a chance to address that also when you talk. Okay, with that, let's move on to the county, and then we're going to get to the city manager, and then we're going to talk about Measure P. So hold tight. We're getting to your questions. I know a lot of you sending questions, and we're trying to get to them.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Dai Louie, and I work for LA County Public Works. LA County Public Works is one of 37 counties that operate under the direction of our board of supervisors. When people ask me what it is that we do, I like to think that we connect people. We connect people to where they work. We like to connect you to where you live and also where you play. And one of the ways that we do that is we have a very extensive road network that we try to maintain as well as keep safe. Next slide. So Oh, okay. So, you know, like I mentioned, we connect you to the things that are important to you, and at the same time, we want you to connect with us. So on the next slide, if you notice, there's a map, and in the center of the map is the city of Compton. You know, sharing boundaries with Compton is the unincorporated county areas, and so if you go to the next part, it'll show the projects that we've completed within the last 5 years. Those projects, hopefully it comes up soon, I'll keep talking.
This blow up is the same thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a map blow up here. If somebody wants to check later on, you can also check the blow up, and then we can get you copies of the slides if you're in unincorporated Compton and you wanted to check it out.
Yeah, so it's up right now. If you look at the thick gray lines, those are projects that we completed within the last 5 years. We preserved and we constructed almost 8 million square feet. But, you know, we didn't want to stop there. Our director had this goal of continuing to improve the community. So in the next 5 years, we're looking at doing an additional 10 million square feet of roadway in the city of Compton. So for Public Works, we are responsible for about 3,200 miles of road. That's pretty long. To give you an idea how long that is, if you were to drive from here to the capital of Alaska, that's 2,800 miles. We're longer than that. So we drive these roads on a monthly basis, but we know that you guys drive them on a daily basis. And so you guys are more of our eyes and ears than basically our maintenance folks. So how do we get you to give information to us when you see issues in your road? One of the things that we started developing was this app called The Works. It's a great app. We love it. It's available through the Apple App Store. It's available through the Google Play Store. What we ask is that if you do use it, please do not use it while you're driving. If you're doing texting, don't do that. But when you use it, it's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. In the lower right-hand corner, you'll see an option to click on Reports.
And we have a handout that everybody has in your chair on the app. So if you're driving down the street, I don't want to interrupt, I just want to make sure everybody knows that we have a handout. So the slide that you may not be able to see is a handout, the slide's a handout. It's an app, you can download it. And I downloaded it myself. It's super duper helpful. So I just want to make sure everybody, if you want to follow along, there's a handout.
Yeah, and like the congresswoman said, it is a very easy app to use. The nice thing about the app is, although it was created by LA County Public Works, it can be used by anyone in the county, including cities. So what would happen is, you'll click on Report. After you click on the report, it'll show you a map. And from that map, you can either pan around, you can basically type in an address, intersection. And if it happens to be within the LA unincorporated area, it'll give you options as far as what to report. If it's within the city, what it'll do is it'll identify the contact information for that city, and it'll give you a phone number so you can contact the city directly as well. So again, it's a really easy app to use. We like it. There's options to provide additional information, such as contact information, and you can actually go to
I can't hear you. You put your.
I'm sorry.
Stand up.
Thank you.
And then, so the cool thing about the app is that after you report something, you can still check on the status of it. And we try to get a response to everyone by 72 hours from the time you report it, 3 days. If you're not familiar with the app or you don't want to use your smartphone, we have our website. And the website is dpw.lacounty.gov. From there, on any of our pages, there's a contact us. And from that contact us is very similar to the app. You can choose potholes, for example, provide the pertinent information, go to the map, zoom to the location, submit. That gets to us, and we get back to you within 72 hours as well. If you're old school, like my parents are, and my brother is that way too, we have a phone number. It's 211. And I really like 211 for multiple reasons, because 211 is 24/7, 211 is multilingual, and 211 actually is helpful for those who are deaf or hearing impaired. And so we try to cover all the different aspects. And the final way to reach us, if it's urgent, is we have a 24-hour dispatch. Now, from our 24-hour dispatch, you know, there are certain things like sewage spills, those are the things that you want, we like to hear from you on, and those we try to respond to you within 24 hours. But if it's a life-threatening emergency, please call 911. I mean, that's a very important distinction, because we can't help in those regards. And I think with that, that's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. So, there's an app. If you can download the app, you can use the app to report a pothole. If it's not in the county, it will tell you the jurisdiction. You can actually use the app outside of Compton, outside the unincorporated parts, and it will tell you the jurisdiction, right? Elliott County or Arundel County. If you can't download the app, you can call 211. If the county's not responsive, I'm going to invite people to reach out to my office, and we will be happy to work with local government. We do this all the time, folks. If people call us, they'll say, hey, we put a call, we're not going to call back, we will put an inquiry to try to figure out what's going on to get an answer. All we're trying to do is facilitate getting an answer and getting things fixed. Okay, so that's the county presentation. Now, we're going to move on in a second here, city manager, and you're going to be up next. But I want to show everybody a slide. How many people saw this long sign? It says, yes on P, Measure P, fix our streets now.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? How many people thought that by voting for Measure P, the money was going to go to streets?
No, I didn't. I was like going to the street.
Just by show of hands, how many people thought most of that money was going to go to streets? How many of you understood that that money could be used for streets, but a lot of other things? Okay. Okay. So the next slide is actually the more comprehensive. I think this was used during the campaign. And it listed street improvements, public safety, senior programs, youth programs, parks and rec, drug and gang violence prevention.
It was not.
Okay, so these are all slides that we took from during that campaign.
That's why I voted.
And the reason I'm showing you this is because I get this question all the time. And this is a complaint we get all the time.
Okay.
And that is, I voted for Measure P, how come the streets are not being done? This is a question I get all the time. And if you see the handout, there's a handout of a pie chart. Does everybody have a handout of a pie chart? If you do not have a handout of the pie chart, raise your hand. Okay, I see some hands in the back. She has the pie chart. Here's why I want you to have the pie chart, because this is really illustrative of where the money's going. Let's start with the part that says 2017, 2018. Does everybody see that here? Okay, for my staff, I still see some hands raised in the back over there. They need the pie charts. Do we have any more of these pie charts?
No.
Keep your hands raised and I see our mental health volunteers getting around here.
No more.
So this information from the pie chart is directly from the city of Compton. Does everybody see the slide that says 17, 18? Okay. So just look at it with me for a second. I'm going to read a few things off the pie chart. Okay, here's the answer to your question on where the money's going. In 2017-18, 36% of Measure P money went to public safety and law enforcement.
Really?
Hold on. 14% of that went to something called outstanding payments from 2013 to 2017. Okay?
They're seating over here, right? Plenty.
1% says pothole contract. And maybe you
You in the way of my camera now.
Anyhow, so this is the pie chart that shows you where the money went, 17, 18.
And then I'm gonna tell you no, huh?
Your tax
And I got you on
dollars, this is
camera
where they
saying
go.
that.
This is where they go, okay?
At least it was something nice.
This was a local measure. Okay, now flip the other side of the pie chart. On the other side of the pie chart, we wanted to tell you where the money for fiscal year 2018 and 2019 is going. And you see that for this one, 35% is the sheriff's contract. And on this one, we're seeing 24%, so there's been an increase, is going to street improvements.
Get out your way.
And then there's other things on here you can read. There's parks, there's a fire apparatus, there's public works streets, there's code enforcement, graffiti removal, and things like this. So this is an educational tool just to tell you where Measure P money is going and being spent. The city council decides on how this money is spent. Okay? How much money?
Lord of mercy.
Measure P allocation for 2018 and 19, that's at the very top. It says 10.8 million. On the back side, but we don't have 17, 18, but we have the 2018, 19. It's at the very top here. Okay, so again, there's going to be an opportunity for questions. And I just want to remind you, like, when you take a look at where the, federal money is being used, the millions that were being used for TDBG money, the state dollars being used, and you see where how much local money. I don't know if there's any other local money. If there is, you certainly can shed some light on that. But this is meant to be informative, to educate, because we get a lot of these questions and we're trying to answer some of them. So I wanted to show you this before we went to the city manager. So the city manager, if he wants to expand on it or correct anything, then he has an opportunity to do that. So let me just say, I am super appreciative of the city manager for trying to work with us and for coming out today, for being willing to answer questions, being willing to provide information. I believe in transparent government, okay? And he brought along Public Works Director Wendell Johnson. And so let's give them the respect they deserve in their presentation, which is next. You're up. You may. Absolutely.
Compton family, what's going on? So just to give you guys some background, my parents moved here in 1950, so I'm a native. I have a huge amount of passion for the city of Cecil Rambo. I have been around the city all my life. I'm 60 years old, and so I'm as much a resident as anyone here. I will tell you that I've been here about 2.5 years. Prior to that, I was in the city of Carson for 2.5 years. And since I've been here, quite frankly, we've been hearing a huge amount of issues. One, Congresswoman, first of all, Congresswoman, thank you for having this town hall meeting and giving us this opportunity. But we inherited a number of things when we got to the city. The first thing we inherited was a $10 million deficit that we had to make up. So when you see the Measure P expenditures in that 2017-18 fiscal year, I had to struggle to balance the budget just to keep people employed, to keep the folks employed that do fill the potholes. So when you look at the pie chart from the next fiscal year, which is one we're in now, there's a host of issues that we've had to actually make up time for. You notice that there's about $1 million a year set aside for rainy day fund, which the city does not have. But let's get directly to how we're going to fill the potholes, how we're going to fix the streets. Right now, there's a project going on called the 13-01 project. It's covering primarily 21 streets in the northeast and northwest part of the city, primarily. If you've gone out there, in fact, the potholes that you see in the Congresswoman's flyer, with the puddles in it and all that street has been completely repaved. And it's around Roosevelt Elementary School over there. The sidewalks put in, the gutters. I really encourage you to go out there and look at that. The roadway you drove in here, just this stretch of Murr here, that's a new stretch of pavement from Oleander to Santa Fe. What I will tell you is that there's over 200 miles of street here in the city. About a third of those are in poor condition, so about 70 miles. So I can't do them all at once. The mayor has discussed a plan to get them all done at once. I can talk very briefly about how we plan to do that. There's another project called the 18-01 project, covers about 25 streets. Some of those streets, if you take a very close look at them, and they're on our website, an example is Greenleaf from border to border. If you look at that particular roadway, that's a long way. Santa Fe from border to border, that's a long stretch of street. On those major thoroughfares, it's about $1 million a mile to do that. Covering Murr from Santa Fe to the border over into the county area, that's about a $2 million project just in and of itself to redo that street. So to do something like that, many cities like Carson, I spoke to their public works director, their city manager, they're taking a look at bonding. And what does bonding mean? It doesn't mean additional taxes. We get, like the state said, we get a number of funding sources from the state, Measure M, Measure R, SB1. And there's a vehicle out there, a funding vehicle that can allow us to take away $10 million to $15 million where we bond that particular money, use those measures to do the debt service. So imagine if you want to renovate your home, add a room to the house, or completely get the kitchen. You borrow against your own and you use your salary or whatever to pay the debt service. Same principle. One of the challenges we face is, like the councilman said, we were audited by the state. And we hadn't done financial audits from 2014 until the present. So we finished those audits, we went to the state recently, we just received a letter from the state controller's office commending us on the performance that we've done so far, implementing corrective action plans. We have over 200 corrective actions that we need to implement. I can frankly tell you it's going to take us a number of years to actually implement all these plans. Again, I've been here 2.5 years. Trying to, this council and myself are trying to get the city back in fiscal order. The point of the issue with the bond versus financial audits is almost like predatory lending. So imagine a FICO score. If you have a FICO score that's very low, the best loan rate you can get would be higher percentage rate. So we really want to avoid that if we're looking at private placement. So we don't end up with predatory lending rates that cost us more money than we really want to spend. But everybody wants their streets done. And the only way to get 70 miles of failing streets done is to look at options like that to pay for them. Or we put together a 5-year plan in which you actually see, like for instance, 1301, which was actually starting in 2012. We're actually going to finish that in about 240 days or less, about September. Okay, so that's 21 streets that are going to be completely redone that have been neglected at least since 2012. So imagine trying to do that for 70 miles of failing streets. If you want it done all at once, it's a big ticket item. If those of you who've been to Carson and seen Carson Street from the 405 freeway to Figueroa, I was there for that project. That project cost the city $18 million, and it took us about 4 years to put that street together. These are big ticket items, big processes. It takes months just to do the engineering and design. I'll touch a little, Wendell may touch a little bit on why things take so long. So reporting potholes. Keep in mind that potholes are not like reported crimes, right? So one of the advantages I have of being here in Compton is that I've actually patrolled these streets because I was a commanding officer back in 2000. So I've driven every street in the city. I understand what the emergency response is. And I know where all the potholes are. I know where all the failing streets are. If I'm allowed to stay concentrated in an area at a time, I can get more done. But what happens is people say, I can't pull out of my driveway, and you're in farms. Another person calls and says, I can't drive down my street, and you're off of Orchard and Stockwell near the Walmart. So if we keep running back and forth all over the city like that, you see some progress, but you don't see large swaths of progress. That's why the 1301 project is so important. Starting May 4th and May 11th. May 4th and May 11th. So May 4th, like the congressman said, we met with Carson, a woman named Deborah prosecuted in the state. And we came up with an idea to work collaboratively to deal with the central and 91 in Wilmington and 91. May 4th and May 11th, stay away from those areas because we're going to shut those intersections down and fill the potholes and start repaving. Thanks for that applause, Dan. So, I will tell you that we're aware of it. So we know that the 710 and Alondra are also, there's a problem in that bridge deck. That will follow those two bridge decks. Central and Wilmington are also part of the long-term plan with Metro, and they're going to be doing some complete redesigns of those two bridge decks. Those are some of the busiest goods movement intersections in the state. Which is why you see such deterioration there, because there's so many civilized matrix that go through there, they just literally chew up those streets. And we're aware of that. Wilmington Phase 2 is under design right now. It's almost finished, so Phase 2 is going from Rosecrans all the way down to the southern border. So there's a number of very large projects going on that are under design, in the works. We have not neglected you to the degree, at least under my team that I've been here. I see several council members and the mayor of the audience. I really appreciate their support in how we allocate these funds. Now you see in the 1801 or the 1819 budget, there was some allocated funds for parks, facilities. We've been directed to repurpose some of those funds in the future because we realized, the mayor and council realized that there's some priorities that really need to be addressed. So when you see pothole filling, you say, well, I don't want my potholes filled, I want my whole street done. We understand that, but until we need to stabilize your street. Quite frankly, this weather event that happened to us this year, which was an anomaly without a doubt. I see the county director shaking his head. We, even when we wanted to fill potholes, we couldn't even get asphalt because the asphalt companies don't sell it while it's raining. It's like trying to get your roof repaired during the rain. We simply can't do it. It has to dry for a couple of days, and we can barely get a day, a 24-hour period of dry weather. And then we had a flash storm that actually flooded the city. Those just caused other problems. That's where you saw those potholes with the puddles in them. Even if we wanted to address those, we couldn't. So as soon as it dried up, we got to work right away. So I really appreciate really the blessing it is for us to even serve like this in public. As a child growing up in this town, I couldn't imagine coming back and working hard for my family, for a better group of people that are more deserving than any that I know of. And so I really appreciate that, and I appreciate all the attention. And I promise you, as long as I'm here, you have my commitment to make Compton, streets in particular, Class A and worthy of anyone who Beverly Hills or in the city of Compton. I'm going to bring up our Public Works Director. Do you have your PowerPoint or do you want to just... Okay, I have Wendell Johnson come up and speak very briefly, then I'll take questions. Okay. Okay, perfect.
Good afternoon, Compton. Okay, do we remember what days to stay away from the intersection? 11th, right. The 4th we're going to do Central, the 11th we're going to do Wilmington. And then we're going to move on to some other ramps in cooperation with Caltrans. I'm not going to go over my PowerPoint here, but I'm going to give you a couple of highlights on the type of things that the department has been working on. I got here in late 2017, in October 2017. I completed the pavement management plan, which was the roadmap to determine what streets will do and what needs to be done to those streets. I presented that to council in March of 2018. Council made some adjustments to that, and we came back with a finished plan early April, and then in April we started executing the plan. A couple of the main points of the plan is one, We got a contract, a pothole contractor on board. When I'm using the word pothole loosely, because I'm not filling potholes. We're removing the material and we're taking between 2 and 4 inches of asphalt, all of the streetway, and we're coming back in there and we're doing a permanent repair so that that repair should not break down. We spent about $750,000 on the main streets in Compton, and we entered into a phase 2, which is another $1 million on the main streets in Compton. And then we have a phase 3, which is going to address the residential streets, some of the poorest residential streets that are out there. At the same time, we're working with some federal dollars that IP grants from the state of California that are valued at $3 million to improve the lighting and the pedestrian safety, new bus stops, new street furniture. It's going to be a designation here for people to go in the future. And at the same time, we're doing Wilmington, which connects to the county. We're doing it from Rosecrans Boulevard all the way to the city's south border. The county is going first this year. The plans for that particular project is about 30% under design. And in addition to that, you also have 2 bridge replacements that the department is planning along again with the county. And this is the Wilmington-Compton Creek Bridge along with the Compton Boulevard Bridge. Compton Boulevard Bridge is slated to be reconstructed in 2022. The Wilmington Bridge is in 2023. So we have a lot of things going on. And what you can do is you can check the city's website and you'll be able to find a presentation which gives you a list of streets, about $12 million worth of streets that are under design now, that the design will be ready late this summer or early fall, and we'll be executing those streets early spring or late fall this year, along with another set of streets that is simultaneously being designed also when it comes to residential streets. Quickly going over the money, we used to get about $2.5 million worth of gas tax. SB1 adds another $2 million to that, so there's $4.5 million. In this budget you're seeing before you today is about $3 million worth of Measure P. Along with there is $1.3 million worth of R and another $1.3 million worth of Measure M, as well as almost $2 million worth of Prop C. And so the city's projects are well funded, and we're moving ahead with the design. And by the end of this summer, I hope that the pothole is extinct in Compton. I'm working daily to make sure that happens. And if it's not extinct, it's going to be an endangered species. Again, I would like to thank you.
Donald Smith, if you're in the audience, you have a question, find one of the 2 mics, and Ms. Twyla Burr. Do we have, I have Donald Smith first on the list. Is Donald Smith in? Oh, he's in the back. Can you come to one of the mics? There's one here on this side and one on this side. While you're coming up, I have a question for the city manager. Does the city of Compton have an index report of all the streets with the indexing number to rate the streets?
Yes. Yes. And I sent that to Frank today, so we'll put it on the website.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that. Next question while we wait for Mr. Smith. How did the city come to a conclusion about the streets that the streets that you're working on or you're planning on working on? Did you look at like what streets are working bad? Like, can you just give us a quick idea of how you made that determination? Was it from the index sheet, the index survey?
Yeah, some is from the index survey and some is just from public outcry.
Okay.
So.
Okay, we have our first question is from Donald Smith.
Yes, my question was, why haven't there been any Proposition P oversight committee meeting scheduled? They've all been canceled. Why have they? When are we going to have a meeting? I'm a commissioner on that committee.
Thank you. So, when Measure P was put out there, the residents were promised an oversight committee so that residents would be able to oversee the spending of these dollars. As was mentioned, there hasn't been a meeting yet. So the oversight from the committee is not occurring. Do you have a question and answer? to this question?
Sure. So the first meeting we had, we didn't have a quorum. And then we need to also pick one more member for the committee. It's a committee of 5. Each council member and the mayor gets to select one. And Don, I think we talked about this, but for the sake of the audience, we had a meeting, we didn't have a quorum for that first meeting, and the controller is actually the chair of that meeting, and the controller for the audience's purposes is selected by the mayor and council. She is not a department head that I selected, she actually is the chair of, or the staff member for that, and she will be calling for a meeting as soon as we bring the item back. I spoke to the city attorney about bringing the item back to the council so we can make that last selection to have not only a full 5-member committee, but also some alternates in case we have a meeting where not everyone shows up.
So there you have it. They're waiting on an appointment, and people need to show up for the meeting to have the meeting. So, their next question is from Ms. Kerr.
Hi, my question is, you spoke to the issue of the bridge on the Alondra entering on north and southbound of the 710 freeway, but who's responsible for paving the entrance to both sides?
That'll be us, and we are, just like with Central and Wilmington, we'll be dealing with that issue. As soon as we get through with Central and Wilmington, we'll be moving on to that bridge. But we also needed to, the state requires us to submit like a traffic safety plan, because we're shutting down the freeway. Quite frankly, I don't have enough staff to do that. I need their help to do it. And there's a number of issues involving safety that require a large number of staff and a large number of equipment. So that's why it's important for us to work in conjunction with the state. So once we finish these 2 bridge next week, we will be moving over to that one.
Do you have an
I'm gonna text you real quick.
timeframe?
We're hoping to get, so we have May 4th, May 11th.
It'll be easier for me to just call you.
Before the end of May or the early part of June, we get that particular
310
section.
658
Okay, before we go to the next question, and it's going to be Leticia Navarro, so if you're here, Leticia, please come up to the microphone, and then Karen Collins, you're after that. By the way, if you have a question or a comment, you have a comment card, make sure you hold it up so our team can get you. We're going to get you as many questions as possible.
What's your name?
I want to quickly just say a few
Michael.
things. You can report a pothole, if you saw the flyer that we mailed out, you can do it we created an email so you can report a pothole there. Otherwise, what you can do is you can see our caseworker, Patty is right here, and there's one in the back, her name is Tess. If you want follow-up, if you want to report a pothole and you want us to follow up with you after we've reached out to the city, you need to sign a privacy release form. It's a common thing that we do to do any casework for a constituent. And so that's something we're going to offer to do, to follow through, to make sure to see what is happening with the report that you're making. So you can report through our office if you like. If you want follow-up, fill out a privacy release form. Or you can do it online. If you do it online and you don't sign a privacy release form, we're not going to be able to contact you directly to give you the follow-up. Number 2, you probably saw in your handouts, there's actually a claim form if you got damage to your vehicle and you want to file a damage claim. We are giving you that claim form. If you don't have one, see a member of my team and we can give you that. Now, I'm going to say something really quickly. I was a member of the city council once, and I know how this, what I saw happen a lot, I'm not saying it's happening here, but what I saw happen a lot was there would be this automatic, just decline it and let's see it, like they go away, okay? I saw this happen. I'm not saying it happens here, but what I'm telling you that you can certainly use the form. It's a legal form. Because it's a legal form, we cannot help you with the form. Okay? But hopefully, and one of the questions I'm going to have for you at some point tonight is, does the city just reject these and how do they decide it? Okay, so With that said, we're moving on to our next question. Leticia, you're up.
Yes, hello, good evening, everyone. I actually have three. One of them was the answer, and the question was, when will the
Please, over here to your right.
So engaged on the date, so I'm glad to hear that. Now, the
Against the
other
wall.
question was, you said about 50% in the past was
To your right.
street repairs. And my question is the public able to view those reports? And if so,
I just
where
gave the
can
girl
we go to see
this.
that?
So I think she's talking about CDBG money, because that was the 50% of the federal dollars.
So community development block grant money, the area has to be eligible to receive the funds, and contrary to popular belief, the entire city is not CDBG eligible for certain street and roadway repairs. In the past fiscal year, in fact, there'll be something coming up before you in the council. When we go to spend the CDBG money, we have to do what's called an annual action plan, and it's a public hearing. We talk about how we're going to spend those funds. There are some people here that are from the nonprofits that actually receive some of those funds. So they understand how the process works.
Yeah.
We're allocating
Were you
more
satisfied
community
with
development block grant money next year, next fiscal year for roadways and repairs. But they have to be for CDBG eligible streets that we use from the census data to determine which streets are available.
Are we able to view those reports as the public, and where can we go?
Yes.
We're interested in that.
So I strongly urge you to come to the council meetings or pay attention to the council meetings. Even the document that the Congresswoman showed on how we allocate the money, those are all presented to the council at a public budget hearing, public budget discussion. I know that when we do budget talks and we do budget hearings, it's very dry material, it's very boring when we show up. But come to the annual action plan, come to the council meetings, and you'll see us do the presentation of how we're going to expend the money. You get a chance to come up and make audience comments, do public comments on how the money is actually spent.
And I'm going to also offer, if you can't make it, call our office. We will get the information, we'll do the best we can the information, and give it on to you. Okay? Our objective here is to facilitate information, and if you can't make the meeting for whatever reason, we hear from people who work 2 jobs, and can't get to a meeting, call our office and we'll get you. Thank you. Now, our next question is Karen Collin Lewis.
Good evening, members of our community and our city council. You guys are being really articulate now, but what do we have that you can present that would let us trust you in? And my last question, what happened to the $47 million deficit? Was that ever resolved?
Okay, I'll answer that. One, I'm not an elected official. Two, what will make you trust us again is if you drive out to the streets that we listed in the 1301 project, go to, a good example is if you look at the Congresswoman's flyer and you look at those streets, if you go look at those streets today, they were completely redone. So we're not just talking about it, we're actually doing it. And the $47 million deficit or the interfund borrowing, we are working, I inherited this issue. This mayor and council inherited that issue. We are working with the state controller, we're working with our fund balances to reconcile that. We cannot forgive that particular debt. I'm not sure why that debt was pulled. I've only been here 2.5 fiscal years. This dates back to 2008. So that is something that we're going to work on in the long-term plan. Right? And around December, you will see, once we get our audits actually completed, the real fund balance, because we're really trying to figure out exactly, unwind. If you look at our budget and what's happened over the last probably 15 years, is like looking at the junk drawer in your kitchen. Right? So our job is to try to untangle everything that's going on and really move ahead with some of the things that the civil grand jury presented to us, In the future, you're going to see charter reform committee get formed and look at changes in the charter. There's a number of things that we have to do. There's a number of policy issues we have to make. I've already implemented some cash handling plans. You guys realize that about $3.5 million was actually stolen from the city over a period of 6 years. So we changed plans for that. So those are all things that when you bring in a cop, that's the kind of stuff that we do when we look at how we're going to fix some problems.
Okay, but when the council is convened and we ask you questions, there's no respect, no answer that is. We pay taxes, we live here, and we want some action now that we can see, not 2 years from now.
That's one of the reasons we're doing a town hall, right? Know that I am committed to making sure federal funds are being allocated here, are being used properly, and that we're gonna help work with the city and the city manager to making sure that we follow up on the reports and the streets to make sure they're being done. And so how you have that commitment for me, I understand the frustration when the city council meetings are getting canceled because there's no quorum, can't participate in public comment because of that, or in our case, it was making sure we did one town hall focused just on this issue, to give you a chance to have your questions answered and to be able to get information. Okay, so this is not the only thing we're going to do. It's going to be an ongoing project, and I'm grateful for the city manager for your help in working with us and making sure the residents feel that their concerns are being addressed. And he takes direction from the city council. I mean, he runs the city, taking direction from the city council. This is how city government works. So our next question is Irma. Irma, are you here? Onidi? I don't know if I pronounced that right. Irma, if you're here, come up to the mic. You're next. Blanca Segura, you're after her. Sarah Jakin, come on up to a microphone. And then we got Felix Carballo. If I called your name, come up to one of the 2 microphones and you can ask your question. Yeah. Go ahead.
Now, one of the things that I do see with the pothole issue in the city of Compton is that some of the potholes are repaired, but within weeks, even months, the potholes come back. So I don't know what measures are being taken in order to fix this issue, because it seems like it's a recurring issue that they get patched up, and within a week, they're back.
Have you heard those reports?
Yeah, I'll touch on that. So there's a couple of methods we use to fill potholes. So right after the rains that we had, in between the rains, we went out as quickly as we could to get some of the really big potholes with cold mix. Cold mix is, it doesn't solidify as hard as a hot mix. Hot mix is when you see the guys out with the steamrollers and all that. I'll give you an example. So this weekend I'll be out personally doing some cold mix stuff just to get some of these emergency potholes done. The Public Works Director talked about the new pothole contracts that we have, where they actually grind up a few inches of the asphalt and make a permanent fix. And you see some of those on Compton Boulevard, Long Beach Boulevard, Rosecrans. They were done before the big rain event. They held up really, really good. The other potholes that you see on those major thoroughfares were created after we had those rain events. So there's a couple of methods we use. The cold mix method is a temporary fix until we can actually get over into the hot mix method, which is using a steamroller. It requires a large number of personnel. But we make every effort to use the hot mix because it's a permanent, a more lasting fix. But because we get so many emergency pothole requests, just to fill those requests, we get out there and try to stabilize the area until we can get the hot mix over there. Again, one of the things that I want to emphasize to you all is when you call in for a single pothole, or let's say just your street, remember, I have 70 miles of that, and it would be under ideal circumstances, you know, we've got when you look at our pavement management map, you will see a number of streets in the red. If you allow us to just take care of those streets in the red, and then take our time and get to your street, things will be better.
So one of the things that we can do, because there's a map available, will people be able to look up their street to see how bad the street is?
Yes, they'll be able to look, because you'll be able to tell the street. So when I say take our time, the bottom line is there's a method to filling these potholes. I invite you to come out and look at it and do this. It takes a couple of weeks just to do 3 or 4 blocks. It took us 28 tons just to do 2 streets. So it's a huge amount of work, and it takes a lot of people to do it. So it's not something we can just run in, put out a fire, and leave. There's a significant number of men hours that it takes to do that.
Okay, so again, if you see a pothole you want to report, you can report it. And if you need help, we will, if the city can, if they're short on the staff, we can help you try to find your street on the index. The index is a very helpful tool, so you can kind of see comparatively where the other streets are and how bad they are, maybe some of your neighbor streets. So I guess to just close out his question, if somebody had a pothole fixed and a week later it's not anymore, what are they supposed to do? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we have, let's see, Irma, Blanca, and Sarah. Can you tell us your name so I can cross you off?
Sarah Jenkins. I have a question, and I've heard all of the government activity and county and the state. My question is, there's a lot of industry around where we live. There's a lot of trucks, and you spoke about the access to the freeway. I'm wondering why we cannot, as a city or as a body of people, tax the industry that is ruining the city. I understand why we can't impose some kind of tax on them because you fix the streets, and about 2 years later, it's going to be messed up again because of all the trucks and all the activities going on around the whole city. That's my question.
Well, wait, so you're talking about like an impact fee, right? Or an impact, so warehousing impact fees are debated by the city council. Those are public policy decisions. I think the state has something coming down the pipe about taxing how many miles you drive, because with the advent of electric vehicles, the gas tax is dwindling. So those of you who drive electric cars, they're looking at a tax for the number of miles driven, so that will impact the vehicles and trucks that are up on the roadway. But that's a state.
They're going to enforce that.
And you mentioned that sometimes you're short with your staff. Is there an availability to hire more staff to work on this with Measure P dollars?
There's an ability to hire staff, but one of the things we have to do is so when we hire staff, salary, employee benefits, legacy benefits, one of the things that we're going to have to face in the next fiscal years at the state level particularly are unfunded pension liabilities, long-term liabilities that we have facing us. So when you hire more staff, you